Good evening. Welcome to our today's class, competition analysis. We'll be looking at a broader aspects of this course, and if you are very attentive and follow us, I believe there are so much things you have to learn that you can apply in your business and in your work environment. Before I start, let me introduce myself. I am Okafor Ikenna Michael, aka SME Doctor, aka Oga HR. I am a certified human resource practitioner and a management consultant with Integrated Institute of Professional Management, and also a HR in a renowned private hospital in Abuja, as well as a consultant at Como Consult. All right. So we're looking at the following objective in this course. As you can see on your screen, we have about 11 things or 12 or thereabout to talk about as regards to competitor analysis. All right, so let's proceed. Schindler International is a leading manufacturer of electrical safety equipment such as miniature circuit breaker MCBs, MCCBs, etc. for the past 6 decades. It has carved a niche for itself in this area and capture the largest market share in its industry and segment. However, now Schneider wants to venture into the mobile and smartphone markets. It has decided to launch a range of mobiles and smartphones that will cater to various segments of the society. What do you think Schneider should do to become successful in his venture? Yes, a careful and thorough competitor analysis will help Schneider recognize its position in the market, its competitors, and challenges to help it become successful in its new venture. Hence, analyzing its competitors will help Schneider to discover its weaknesses, to identify opportunities for the threats to the organization from the industrial environment. Also, Schneider management must consider the strategies of organization's competitors while formulating Schneider's policy strategy for launching the new mobile phone and smartphone products into the market. Competitor analysis is therefore a driver of an organization's strategy and affects how firms act or react in their sectors. The organization does a competitor analysis to measure its standing amongst the competitors. So you can see that in competitor analysis, in discussing competitor analysis, there are both internal and external dynamics a business or a professional must look at. The internal dynamics involve things you know are your strengths, your weaknesses, your staff, your policies, processes, and procedure. External dynamics involve your competitors, government regulations, and so on and so forth. So one cannot talk about competitor analysis or competition analysis without looking at these factors. You see, so many businesses have folded up because they couldn't withstand competition. So competition is what we must face in any business we encounter. However, how we approach that competition is what matters. For instance, are we just competing head on in the red ocean, or we are just reactors, or are we trailblazers to the competition? Do we set the pace while others follow? Do we create a new market, a new venture, a new mode of payment, a new ease of doing business? All this can break the chain of competition. Okay, hence you can understand that competitor analysis is extremely crucial, and the management should take a thorough knowledge analysis of the general and competitive environment of the organization in order to make an organization successful. All right, so let's proceed to what is competitor analysis really. Organizations always operate within a competitive industry environment. They do not exist in a vacuum. So any business that you are doing is within a space. Any business that you are doing is within a space. So be rest assured that you're going to meet some sort of competition, even in manpower for your business, in sourcing for manpower, you're going to meet competition. So analyzing an organization's competitor helps an organization to discover its weakness, to identify opportunities for and threats to the organizations from industrial environment. Okay. While formulating an organization strategy, managers must also consider the strategies used by its competitors. So you can't just form your strategy in isolation. For instance, if your competitors are using uh, um, uh, the TV to market their product and you're using newspaper, you see that you will not be able to match head on with them in whatever they are doing, because TV will give you a larger coverage. Most people, whether it will cover for many people, whether you're uneducated or you're not educated. So to a very large extent, your competitors influences how you compete with them. They influences what you do and what you don't do. It's it even to an extent influences your internal policies. Okay. Competitor analysis is a driver of an organization strategy and affects how firms act or react in their sectors. So going further, it also says that the organization carries out a competitor analysis to measure or assess its standing amongst its competitors. With competitor analysis, you will know your position in the market. My organization, the other day, I typed first 10 hospitals in Abuja, and I found out we are there. I said, okay, fine. We are among people that we are the decision makers also. We are also influential when it comes to the hospital business in Abuja. So that alone, first of all, there is this thing of we trying to maintain the position where we are and even going above where we are as an organization. So competition or competitor analysis will help you know the position you are in the market ladder. Competitor analysis begins with identifying present as well as potential competitors. I hear when people often some people would tell me about their business and just ask them, who are your competitors? They'll be like, I don't know. If you must really be serious with business, you must identify your competitors. no matter the business you are doing, is important so that you won't be competing with those who are not even competing with you. There are people who are not even competing with you, but you will just be competing with them, struggling and struggling and struggling. So, computer analysis begins with identifying present as well as potential competitors. It portrays an essential appendage to conduct in the industry. So, how company behave, like we said before, it influences it. All right, let's proceed. However, a well-thought competitor analysis permits an organization to concentrate on those organizations with which it will be in direct competition, and it is especially important when an organization faces a new potential competitors. For instance, you don't MTN don't get to compete with MTEL, for instance. They don't get to compete with Spectranet. Glo compete with MTN, Airtel, and the likes. And one thing that in doing your computer analysis is you must carve a niche for yourself. This is a very important factor. This is a very important factor. You must carve a niche for yourself. If you are a HR, for instance, what aspect of HR do you measure? Training and development, performance, talent management, employee relation, payroll. You must even if you yes, you want to know little of everything, which is good, but you should have one that at least you major in. It will help you a lot in doing what you do. All right, um, so however, a well-thought competitor analysis permits an organization to concentrate on those organizations which it will be in direct competition, and it's especially important when an organization faces a few potential competitors. All right, so knowing your competitors, as earlier said, is very important. It will help you to channel your energy properly, and you can't know your competitor when you have not done a very good market analysis, when you don't have a good business plan, when you've not done feasibility study. All these things are important in business, especially in consulting field, in running day-to-day business, service rendering, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, most business owners and entrepreneurs don't pay attention to this. They take it for granted. When you tell people, well, do a business plan, say, what am I doing business from? I know this business in and out. So it's not just about knowing business, also about knowing those you are competing with. All right, let's just read these few tips. Tip: you have an unrealistic business plan if you ignore or minimize the impact of competition. Minimize that the impact of competition will have on your business. So don't downplay the impact of competition. Don't downplay it. All right. It's very important because in some cases you share clients, you share profits, you share revenue with other competitors. Okay, now let's look at importance of um, competitor analysis. What are some im importance? What are some importance? Number one, competitor analysis is a framework that strategy consultants use to scan external microenvironments in which a business operates. Like I said that time, we have the microenvironment and the macro environment. The micro has to do with the internal dynamics, while the macro has to do with the external dynamics, government role in competition analysis, and other competitors. So with these, you will be able to understand how to um, play your strategy, what move to make. So the next one is this analysis is essential for an organization to design an effective marketing strategy, still on strategy. So you will know where and how to um, channel your energy, how to advise clients on the best strategy to take. And I give a common example. When you look at your competitors and how they are advertising, for instance, it will help you see how to uh, uh, um, advertise properly. It will help you see how you can create a blue ocean for yourself. The third, it's a way of working out what is going on out there so that business can respond to it. So if you are being reactive to your economic environment, it will also help you. It's important to note here that computer analysis can be performed and is relevant for any type of business, whether large, small, or medium. Yes, no matter how small the business is, when you are consulting, draw their attention to the relevance of their competitors. What do their competitors do separately? How do their competitors approach issue? Like this period which we are the coronavirus, how have your competitor, what are your competitors doing that you are not doing? Let's take the medical line, for instance. In the medical line, if you are in a hospital, for instance, and you are not thinking about rendering e-services, then you are joking. So most hospitals I know in Abuja, for instance, are moving towards e-clinic or e-services, e-consultation, e-delivery of drugs, and e-whatever. So they are moving digital. So if you're an hospital, you are still waiting for customers to walk in, yes, you still want them to, that might not be visible anymore. I mean, I'm waiting for that hospital now, for instance, that will have the initiative to come up with something like maybe e-delivery system. I'm very sure some people will key into it. So what is that thing your computer is doing that you're not doing? I know so many hospitals in Abuja that's already doing e-services, and some are not doing, they are just there. So computer analysis is important in this regard. Also, you should keep in mind that the economical factors can differ per continent, country, region. So normally a computer analysis should be performed per country. It's not even enough to perform per country. You can narrow it down. You perform per country, per state, per locality. You don't just perform by a wider polity. Country, it must first be based on your country. You want to consult for someone that is into furniture and you're busy checking up on Google, someone that is doing furniture in the US and uses that. Maybe you want to talk about price and you're using that without knowing the philosophy guiding um, the person's business, the philosophy guiding people's perception as to furniture in this part of the world. And you can't, I mean, you can't, the way people perceive furniture in a place like Abuja is different from how people perceive furniture in a place like Anambra. So all these are important in discussing computer analysis in the macro environment. So business environment. Every organization's business and market environment is made up of the following: internal environment, macro environment, and external environment. Of course, the internal, the use of technology, um, wages, and finance. Those are key things. While the macro environment, external clients, external customers or clients, distributors, suppliers, agents, competitors. While micro political forces, economic forces, social, cultural forces, and the technological forces. What are environmental forces influence? What are environmental influence on business? Have we asked ourselves that question? So computer analysis should involve a thorough analysis of microenvironment of business. So computer analysis should analyze four external influences on competitors and his own business. Four. So we have what? Economic, social, political, and technological. So what acronym can we use? We can use STEP. STEP for social, T for technological, E for economic, P for political. So you can use STEP are the four economic influences on business. STEP is an acronym you can always use to remember: social, technological, economic, and political. All right, let's proceed. We'll come back to the video later on because it won't be able to play now. All right, dimensions of competitor analysis. What are the dimensions we have? Competitors should be analyzed along various dimensions such as size, reputation, culture, growth, and profitability, as well as objectives. So when you're analyzing your competitors, these are the factors you should put. What is the size? Okay. Before then, let's just take it quickly. What is the size of your competitor? How big is it? I could remember my laundry business those days when it was much smaller. And then I noticed a laundry just along the road there was about to open. The guy was importing heavy machines. I mean, this guy was just too big for me to compete with. It was just too big. The person had so much influence, but the beauty of it was that he wasn't even competing with me, kind of, because his clients were not from the locality. He was bringing his clients from maybe Maitama, Asokoro, and so many other places. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that the size of your competitor matters a lot. Then, what has been their reputation? Do they have a good reputation than yourself, or they have a bad reputation? What is their internal culture like? It is very important. If you must compete with other businesses, you must have good internal culture. As a consultant, when consulting for organizations, look out for the internal culture. Companies must have good culture, from culture of recruitment. How do they attract talent? Do they see talent as people who are just people looking for a job, or they see talent as integral partners of the business? Is that how they perceive the employees? Who are they perceive the employees as integral partners who should be treated as well as kings and queens? So, another dimension to use in looking at your competitors is growth and profitability. Is your business growing? What is the profit margin? Objectives. What are the objectives? What is the goal? What is the mission, vision of your competitor? This will help you see where you can position yourself. with the goal or vision and mission of an organization, you can actually tell what they stand in for. Okay, so there are so many others. We have the weakness, cost structure. You see, the cost structure is very important because people often make this mistake of when competing with people, they try to use price. Never use price to compete with people. Never, because you don't know the actual costs. This person might be getting material in large quantity, thereby getting cheaper, or getting from a particular supplier that supplies cheaper, or cost of production is low, and that is why the person's end product is low. So don't just say, okay, this person is selling for 200, I want to sell for 200, this person is selling for 1 million, to sell for 1 million. No, you must ensure that you've covered your cost, you've covered your bill, your utility. Even if you are staying, you're doing the business from your house, you have to factor in monthly, how much will this house ordinarily cost me if I was paying in a shop? How much would I be paying myself salary? If you're not doing this, then you've not even started competing. All right. Objective of computer analysis. Why do we have to do it? To project and forecast organization demand, to study the market, to formulate strategy to increase market share, and to study the market and the patterns. Role of computer analysis in strategic planning. Computer analysis helps in strategic planning in the following manner. It is a source of information for planning. Yes, in making your plans, you need to gather as much information as possible. This information can be gotten from private or the government agencies, private organizations or government agencies. So if you have this, I could remember when I was starting a particular business, I had to go to MBS to get the number of the people doing that kind of business in Abuja, and the number of people doing it in a particular location. That guided me in making the plans for that business. It helps in setting of objective for strategic planning. So with that, you have a clear-cut objective. Remember, when you are embarking on an objective or a goal, it has to be smart. It has to be smart. And what does that mean? It means you have to be specific, you have to be achievable, you have to be measurable, you have to be realistic, and it has to be time bound. So your goal has to be smart to align with strategic planning. And this strategic plan will help you as well in handling your computer analysis. So the next is computer analysis provide information that helps in synchronizing firms' resources and capabilities with the competitive environment. It helps in knowing past, present, and future, so that by using the past and current data, future plans can be checked out. It helps in identifying one core competence of the firm. So you see, with computer analysis, for instance, you can understand an organization's position, you can understand their bias, you can understand their strengths, you can understand their weaknesses. So if you are as a consultant, you are consulting for an organization based on this, you have to also look at other organizations, their internal dynamics that is speaking for them, that is speaking for them, which is of course against you. So next, it helps to build organization strength. It helps to maximize organization's response to opportunity. It helps to overcome organization's threats.
So here, what is it talking about? It's talking about SWOT analysis, SWOR. For those that are just hearing for the first time, strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats. So SWOT analysis. With a good SWOT analysis, you have finished everything concerning a competitor that concern competitor analysis. Finding information for competitor analysis. You can use the following resource to find information for competitor analysis: the newspaper, competitor website, trade organization, government agency. First of all, newspaper are usually not current and does not give real-time information. So, but it's also important you use it because in a place like newspaper, they tend to publish maybe their profits and so many other things. Then the company's website, your competitor's website, go to the site, see how their site look compared with your own. What did they do that you also do? How did they use their tenses and all that? All this will help you understand the position of your competitor. The next is trade organization. What are the influence of uh, um, trade organizations on the organizations that belong to them? They have enormous influence. And some of these trade organizations, apart from the normal influence they have, they also have an information desk. So with this information desk, you can access certain information of some companies. So you can even use that to get out of your competitor. The last in this particular side is government agencies like National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria. You can get information from National Bureau of Statistics. Uh, Depends on what it is, but National Bureau of Statistics can give you a better and almost a very good reporting when it comes to companies. Okay, so we have industry analysts, financial analysts, periodicals, analyst reports. All these are what can be used as well to find information for computer analysis. Okay, so far so good. Thank you for joining us. We are making progress. We are making progress. So the next is step of competitor analysis. So what are the steps to computer analysis? The following are steps to be conducted for carrying about a competitor analysis. You don't just go about doing computer analysis. There are practical step procedures you need to follow. Number one is identify potential competitors. How do you identify potential competitors? We've told you the source of knowing your competitors, all right? Maybe through trade unions, through physical relations with them, yes, going around asking questions, looking at products and services. So, but you must identify them. You can't deal with what you've not identified, so to say. So you have to identify your competitors, and next is to carry out a thorough competitor profiling. I'll give you an example what is done, for instance, in the HR when you hire a candidate. Sometimes when you want to hire, depends on the category of the candidate. What we do is we go for profiling, understand his competitor, where it's coming from, who is who in the competitor organization. So you have to understand the competitor. Then the next is what? understand the competitor's strategy. What strategies do they use to actualize what they do? Are your competitors gender based? Do they, when they are doing their adverts, for instance, the adverts are they concerned with a particular gender, ethnic group? And I'll use a drink, for instance, Hero. Hero, okay, let's start with before Hero. Then it was Gouda. Gouda was one of the most interesting drink then, as well as small stouts. Star came up with a new kind of bottle and beat Gouda that you can't mention Gouda in any bar. Like that was not enough. We had Legend came out and started competing with small stout or stout. Star was trying to catch his breath. Origi came out. Now Origi used the fact that typical African like taking roots. So he told us that origi comes from the youth, comes from roots. Hitting Star out of the market, Star had to use another drink that has to do with roots, citrus, which is Star Radler, to compete with Origi. While the competition was still on, Heroes came and beat all of them out of the market. To some extent, you might say that Hero there is this bias of Hero towards a particular ethnic group in Nigeria. Yes. So if you want to beat any of these, what strategy would you put in place? What will you advise your clients as a consultant? The next is analysis of strength and weakness of your competitors. You must do that. Understand their strengths and their weaknesses. Then assess market attractiveness. What what do people see in their product? What attract people to their product? Analyze source of competitive advantage. This is very important in so I don't begin to fight or every battle that you're not supposed to fight. Understand your competitive advantage. Understand that of your client. They might be doing 10 service, but they have maybe just two that are their competitive advantage. Let me use for instance hospital. Hospital might have gynecologist, optometrist, optometrist, yes, cardiologist, and so many OPD. Have I mentioned gynecologist? I think I have. So, but the major thing that they might be making more revenue from might just be from their optometrist department or even from fertility. That's to do with gynecologist. So, take a competitive advantage, then design competitive strategies. Your strategy has to be competitive. So this is just an analysis. First and foremost step of conducting computer analysis is identifying your current and potential as well as future clients. You see, with what's happening in the world today, some countries in the that they call themselves the Western world did not imagine that a country like China will come up and begin to lead in some economic aspects of the world. So you have to also identify your future competitors. Okay. And strategists should keep in mind that they should identify not only their current competitors but also to take into account adjacent competitors, new and emerging competitors, and any potential future competitor who may enter their market. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone halfway, and we will still continue with our lecture. Types of analysis for identifying current and potential competitors. There are two main approaches used by organizations in order to identify their current and potential uh, competitors. So what are the strategies? These two main are industry-based analysis and market-based analysis. These are the two uh, basic ways. Okay, so we have two type of analysis of identifying current and potential investors. These are two broad ways, or you might say approaches, or you say categorization used by organizations to get and arrived at their current and potential competitors. Number one is industry-based analysis, and number two is market-based analysis. When you talk about industry-based analysis approach, um, it helps to provide an understanding of the structure of the industry and the product offered by all existing players in the market. Also, an industry is defined as a group of organizations whose products and services are close substitute to each other. I will take a very simple example. When you want to talk about industry-based approach and use the industry-based approach to analyze your competitors, you might pick all the industries that does things related to, and let's say want to look at construction, you pick industries related to those that does construction. You're going to pick construction related industries, whether road construction, civil construction, engineering construction, and so on and so forth. If you want to look at agriculture, maybe those into production, you pick all the industry in that field. You can as well pick industry that gives similar product. For example, you want to pick beverage, for instance. You're going to talk about all the companies that are under beverages and complementary products that goes with beverages like other domestic consumables. So this is also an approach used to help one get a deeper understanding. Even now in that industry, you might begin to now narrow it down. You can say you want to pick in hospitality, for instance. And in hospitality, we have so many of them. We have service delivery, hotel, we have hospitals, and so on and so forth. So you might begin to either take the broader approach based on hospitality or the sub approach like hotels, hospital itself, restaurants, and so on and so forth. So industry, the following are the various categories into which industries are primarily classified based upon the number of sellers involved and the degree of product differentiation. Looking at your screen, you can see monopoly, oligopoly, differentiated oligopoly, monopolistic competition, pure competition. If you take your mind back to the economics you did in your senior secondary school, this term might not be foreign to you, and even being played in our Nigerian scenario. So when you talk of monopoly, it is when only a single organization supplies a given product and service in a country or in an area. Such organizations that enjoy an unregulated monopoly try monopoly position try to increase their profits by charging a higher price due to the fact that customers have no other option but to buy it. So the behavioral pattern of such companies is usually different. I'll give you an example in a country like Nigeria, since we have those taking this course from almost every part of the world. In a country like Nigeria, we have um, someone like Dangote Cement. Dangote Cement enjoyed a long-term monopoly, and to some extent, one can even say even till now, there is some somewhat form of monopoly still enjoying or quasi-monopoly due to government backing anyway, and that might explain um, their behavior towards their products. You will agree with me, for those who have made research, that the price of Dangote cement, um, even when it was 2,000 naira in Nigeria, was about 1,000 in some other countries. Why is it so? Even though it's 70% of its production happens within Nigeria, it's not 80%. So when you study computer analysis, analyze computer in this with this spectacle, you will see that there is a different behavior entirely using industries that enjoy monopoly. Also, such firms require to spend every little or almost no advertising expenses at the same time offer minimal service to products to customers. On the other hand, a regulated monopoly is where to charge lower price. Also, such organizations strive to provide more services in the public's interests. Okay, let's proceed, please. So, oligopoly. An oligopoly consists of a few organizations that basically produce the same commodity. An example of oligopoly is the fuel industry with markets such as Mobil, Shell, Exxon Oil, Forte Oil. They are just few of them. Part of the reason why they are few is because of the cost of investing in the business. So you should understand that there are none of these companies in the oligopoly that can sell fuel about above the going price unless it differentiates its line in the same way. So if you look at whether the downstream sector and upstream sector, downstream sector, any other sector in the oil sector, when there is somewhat a regulated price, quite all right. But though they still enjoying some form of preference, while government might regulate the price, there is still huge benefit attached to what they do. So differentiated oligopoly is an industry in which a few organizations produce partially differentiated products. Just few organizations produce products that you can't say they are different, but they are somewhat differentiated, maybe in terms of products, maybe in terms of services. We can say, let's use service industries to, let's say, oil companies. Oil companies. So people who produce, who render health and safety services or who render maintenance services. This is where our mind can quickly take us to. So an example of differentiated oligopoly is the digital camera industry, such markets such as Canon, Nikon, and Sony. Right. Generally, organizations in such an industry will strive to be a leader for a certain attribute. They can try to attract customers who have this who value that particular attribute and charge a higher for their product. Another another thing we should also know in companies that fall under this is that they tend not to sell more. They are not bothered more about the price. They are bothered more about value. I'll give you an example. You will agree with me that most people buying Apple products, let's use Apple laptop, know that they can also buy HP laptop, Dell laptop, um, and so many other laptop there in the market. But what they choose to buy Apple. What has Apple done? They have added maybe one or two features to differentiate, maybe just the touch, the speed, the storage. You've just added one or two things and increased the price that it's likely not even commensurate to what the work they've done, or Apple phone, for instance. But what happens? People still are very interested in getting it. People will do almost anything to get to use Apple. So it's just a feeling though. But that is because those who are in that industry, someone have taken themselves away from the normal and giving just a little bit higher value and increase the price. All right. So the next is monopolistic competition. A monopolistic competition is a situation where several competing industry in an industry are able to differentiate their offer in whole or in same parts. An example of monopolistic competition is the supermarket industry, which with market players such as Walmart, IKEA, and Wegmans, we can look at further in our environment, just like ShopRite, Games, and so many of them. So many of them even go to um, before now we might have we had movie viewing centers, football viewing centers, but things like cinema took it to another dimension. So generally, the companies in such an industry target those market segments where they can better meet the customer needs. They can charge a higher price for their products. So it's always them to differentiated oligopoly. So that I would rather prefer to go to um, in a place like Abuja, for instance, where you have most people who just who are 70% or 80% white collar jobs. They'll prefer to just go to a supermarket where they can get everything under one roof and pay a little higher per item. For instance, if you can get a remote TV in maybe the regular market for like 200, some of us are willing to go to a, a roofed market, let me put it like that. Like, so when I mean roof market, I mean like Walmart, ShopRite, and some other bigger supermarkets where you can get everything in one roof and get for a bit higher, maybe 250 or 255 naira, one kobo. You get. So it's for us, it makes things easier, but for the competitors, they already know the people they want to sell to. Pure competition. A pure competition exists in an industry with many organizations offering the same product and service. An example of pure competition is the agricultural products sold commodities such as rice, wheat, potatoes, and onions. Of course, we might not need to go for all this. We know so much how it works. The great level of competition in this industry is due to the fact that there are no differences among the prices offered offers and products. Such organizations can only benefit from lower cost of production or distribution rather than from advertising and sellers' profits. So if you look at all these things to our daily society, you'll find that all this is just telling us how our economic society roll from monopoly to oligopoly, from differentiated oligopoly, from monopolistic competition. You can just see that in our entire society. The first we've analyzed is industry-based approach, based on industry. Now we are analyzing the competitor based on market-based analysis. Okay, the market-based analysis approach will help to provide an understanding of a wider view of current and potential competitors by focusing on the customer needs, by focusing on the customer what needs and the various organizations trying to satisfy those needs. Hence, in this approach, the companies that satisfy the same customer need are considered to be competitors rather than only those companies that make the same products. They can bear in mind that under this approach, your range of current and potential competitors become very broad. This is very correct. Okay, so it's not just if you read from hence in this approach, the companies that satisfy the same the same customer need, the same customer need are considered what competitors, rather those ones that make the same product. If you go further, you understand what this means. It is very, very deep. It means that things that you might not consider competitor are now competitors. So you can see that we have brand competitors, industry competitors, product competitors, and generic competitions. So let's take brand for instance. A competition in which a company considers other companies offering a similar product and service to the same customer at a similar price as its competitors is known as brand competition. A very known example to all of us is what Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Those people, I don't know if they will ever settle. You can think of more in the Nigerian scenario. For instance, we have um, in telecommunication, you have MTN and Airtel, Etisalat and Glo. Yeah. In the other consumables, you have maybe toothpaste, various form of toothpaste. Okay. So then we can go to industry, a competition in which a company considers all companies making the same product or class of products as its competitor is known as industry competition. For example, Pepsi will consider all soda manufacturers as what? Competitors. Any company, not just, the first one was based on brand. Based on brand. And if you have studied, when you talk about that based on brand, Pepsi and Coca-Cola's mode of advert, you see that you they are almost the same thing. They are almost the same thing. But now it's talking about industry. Industries that are in the same um, line of production, or will I say chain of production. Okay, so let's proceed. Product competition. A competition in which a company considers all companies manufacturing products that supply same services. Please, we have to listen to this. This is very important. Very, very important. A competition in which a company considers all companies manufacturing products. Sorry about that. All manufacturing products that supply the same services as its competitors is known as product competition. For example, Pepsi will consider all other carbonated, you can see it, manufacturers as its competitors. So any drink at all that is carbonated, it's not just about brand now. The first to remember is brand. The second one is not talking about brand now, but soda or content. And now here it's also talking about content carbonated. So it's the scope becomes very broad. So meaning that Pepsi is not considering in such scenario, Pepsi is not considering Coca-Cola only competitors, but even a product that, let's use Team for instance, maybe Team. You can come down to beverage. You will see that a company that is into chocolate will not just consider a company that also produces chocolate as its competitor at this point in time. Consider any other thing similar to chocolate that you can throw in your mouth that does almost the same that chocolate does. It might not necessarily be chocolate, maybe other kind of candy or choco or any name that one decides to call it. All right. So the next is generic competition. A generic competition in which a company considers all companies that compete for the same summer dollar as its competitor is known as generic competition. For example, Pepsi will see other beverage suppliers as its competitors. So a product like Peak Milk will not just see Dano Milk as its competitors, but we also see maybe Milo as its competitors, where you have where substitutes exist. They are your competitors. In fact, the new competition now, if people will open their eyes, and consultants must take note of this when consulting for businesses, is do it yourself. It's now a new form of competition. People are now beginning to do things themselves. They're going to question why the rationale behind them buying certain products because of the time we are now. So they're going to do things themselves. Husbands are sending their wives to go and learn tailoring. People are becoming their own consultants. People are becoming more aware. People are going to the internet to read. So if you're a consultant, you have to opt your game. If you're a business owner, you have to opt your game. All right. Sources of potential competitors. The following are few sources of potential competitors. Organizations that use related technologies, organizations that operate in the same geographical area with similar products, organizations that already target the same market even with unrelated products, organizations that compete in a related product, organizations that are new startup founded by former company employees or managers or existing firm. On this now, that is why on this one I just read, you see some companies say when you leave the company within 1 year you will not set up the same business, or within so 15-mile radius you will not set up the same business. Organization focusing on the same target market with the same strategy and are close competitors to organizations wanting to enter such a group. Other factors characterizing an industry structure are entry and exit barrier, cost structure, degree of vertical integration, and extent of what? Globalization. Step 2. I hope we remember what we are discussing. We are discussing how to what? Analyze competitor analysis. So step 1 we talk about to what? Identify. We've identified in step 1. I might have to go back to refresh your memory on this. You might have to go back to refresh your memory where how we got to this particular point we are now. Okay, so we start by identifying what uh, our competitors, our potential competitors. Steps to step of competitor analysis. So these are the steps we are analyzing now. So the first step, which of all this falls under, is trying to understand what? Understand our competitors, know them. It is when you've known your competitor that you can now begin to profile your competitor. Second step of competitor analysis is carrying out a thorough competition profiling. Competition profiling plays a crucial role in understanding the competitor because it involves analyzing and assessing a firm's behavior and analyzing the firm's characteristics in order to predict or assess their competence and ability in a certain industry. Competitor profile. After the first step of identifying the primary competitor, an organization needs to assess, analyze the strategies of these competitors. There are various ways that can determine and shape the competitor's objectives, such as company size, history, current management, and economics. There are so many that you can think of: the employee, the company culture, the location. All these help you in looking at competitors profiling. Some of the objectives that can be attributed to competitors can include the following: service leadership, technological leadership, cash flow, market share, growth, and profitability. So let's explain what this is. A crucial success factor. Analysis is also crucial to be conducted for an effective competitor analysis. A crucial success factor (CSF) is something that an organization must do in order to succeed in an industry. A crucial success factor. Are you a company that you want to succeed? You must do these things. And let's take a look and see. Look at the given table which shows the critical success factor. Critical success factor, please, of a company for an automobile industry. So this tells you that the critical success factor for maybe an automobile industry might not be the same for a restaurant, it might not be the same for hospitality, it might not be the same for construction, it might not be the same for agriculture. So look, you see the column where the company is, and you see where the competitors are. Engine technology, the company we're to compare is the company in this column before the A column. So in terms of technology, there are eight. Company A is 7, company B is 9, company C is 7, and D is 5. And that goes down to styling and features, brand reputation, strong distribution network, effective manufacturing, effective marketing. It can go on like maybe leadership, employee retention. All those are strategies in profiling your competitors. It is a must you should know your competitor. That is the emphasis of this course. Please, we should have to take this serious. Sun Tzu says in the book The Art of War that war is a serious business that can't be left in the hands of the general alone. Doing business is a very serious business that it doesn't just concern you alone. And in that same book, he said, General, know yourself, know your terrain, and know your enemy. So if you narrow it down to businesses, know yourself, know your company, know your product or your services, and also know your competitors. You can't know yourself as a company, know the service you render, and without knowing your competitors, it's not complete. So the next one is understand competitor strategies. What are the strategies your competitor use? An understanding of competitor strategy is crucial because it is the strategies that are followed by companies that help shape their product policies, markets, marketing method, and their successes. So, competitor strategy. What kind of strategy do your competitor use? What kind of strategy? There will be more competition between two companies whose strategy resemble each other. Hence, it is crucial that strategy groups should be identified that which are companies that focus on the same target market with same target strategy. I'll give you an example here in Abuja. Some hotels, we can, if you, of course, if you call top hotels in Abuja, you talk of Transcorp, talk of Sheraton, talk of Nikon, talk of Top Rank, talk of Bolton White, you talk of Horton Suits, and so many of them. So many of them. They have almost the same strategy. I've done a study on these people. They have almost the same. I've worked in one of the hotels anyway that I mentioned. They have, and I've been opportune to carry out research on these hotels, their marketing strategy, their operational strategy. I found out then that we were going head on with them, with each other. So this is common in industries that render almost the same product and services. That can be seen in the operation, in the way they advertise, in the way they brand themselves in their customer service, financial strategies, manufacturing strategies, 4Ps strategies, product mix, product features, product quality, pricing policy, purchasing, where they get their raw material from, research and development, sales force strategy, sales promotion strategy, target markets. Analysis of strength and weakness against competitors. The third step of competitor analysis of the corresponding strength and weakness of both companies as well as its competitors. This helps in providing key information for a firm analyzing its competitors. Typically, in this step, the analysis is conducted by what? SWOT analysis. Remember we said SWOT analysis. What is SWOT analysis again, please? What is SWOT analysis? We talk of strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat. The first two, SW, has to do with the internal dynamics of the company, while the other two, OT, has to do with the external dynamics. Okay, we've explained this. Companies can gather information about their competitors' strength, weakness through secondary data, personal experience, and hearsay. However, they can also conduct market research and acquire and interpret primary information. For conducting SWOT analysis, companies should collect recent data on the following aspects of each competitor. Talk of sales, competitor sales, share targets, market share, cash flow, profits, margin, ROI, share of minds, new investments, capacity utilization, share of hearts. So you can't talk about, as emphasized, this should be the third time I'm saying this in this course, because that will show you the importance of this. You cannot, it is incomplete You can't talk about competitor analysis without mentioning SWOT. No, you can't. In fact, on what basis are you going to use? What are the criteria you are going to use? So please understand what SWOT is. Read it. Have it on your fingertips about your business. Any business you are consulting for, what you are going to do is SWOT analysis before you start any other thing. Whatever you decide to call it, whether feasibility study, whether needs assessment, those are just names that one can use to garnish it. But the real thing you are doing is what? SWOT analysis. So it's very important that we understand this because it helps in planning, it helps in strategizing, it helps in preparation, it helps in correction. Some examples of organizational strengths are such as abundant financial resources, established brand name, economies of scale, lower production costs, superior management, excellent marketing skills, good supply chain and distribution, great employee commitment. We have weaknesses such as limited financial resources, low research and development budget, which is common with most SMEs, narrow product lines. Most SMEs don't give customer choices, weak supply chain distribution, higher product cost, obsolete or outdated technology, poor market image, poor marketing image, weak management skills, undertrained employees. So we have other opportunities. Example of opportunities. Organizations should be careful and recognize the opportunities and grabs them whenever they rise. Opportunities may rise from market, competition, industry, government, technology. So let's look at some example of opportunity. Look at rapid market growth, complacent rival firm when your competitors are not even concerned, they are very relaxed. Please never be comfortable where you are as a competitor. Always strive to move further, always try to move higher. Okay, changing customer needs. You can see with the existence or the coming of the coronavirus, there were a lot of changes in customer need, in customer behavior. There were a lot of changes. Um, new uses New uses covered by existing product, economic boom, government deregulation, decline in demand for associated products. Some of the examples of threats for an organizations are entry of foreign competitors because they come with so much money and maybe different ideas. You could see in I don't know if it's a typical example, but I will use it. Let's say Uber and Bolt entering into the transportation industry of cab drivers. It changed the whole narrative. Introduction of new substitute product, decline in product life cycle, changing customer needs and tastes, new strategies adopted by rival, increased government regulations. As we can see, most SMEs, depends on which side of the divide you are, might really be hit by some government policies now in some countries, especially Nigeria. So increased government regulations that are not favorable to SMEs might have a way of affecting some SMEs that cannot cope with go down, some that can cope with. There are also good policies that could help, like recently survivor fund that they're giving to SMEs, like paying off their salaries, some giving them a loan without interest, and so on and so forth. So it is important to carry out a SWOT analysis for effective competitors analysis and gain sight into the following: when revenue, costs and expenses and targets are not being achieved, when the market share is declining, when industry conditions are unfavorable, when launching a new business venture. You need to use SWOT analysis. Let's look at a real life example for to understand the importance of SWOT analysis in computer analysis. BlackBerry, for instance, BlackBerry was the pioneer in mobile-based technology and its best-selling original smartphone. However, a poor understanding of the changing times and its computer has landed BlackBerry into deeper trouble. Yes, the following are some of the problems that BlackBerry faced due to poor understanding of changing time. I could remember those days when I was in school. If you don't have a BlackBerry phone, you are like you don't know what is happening. Yoruba will say, "Hey, jazzy," and you are not trending. You're not among people that makes things happen. But with the coming in of Android phone, in fact, I think it did start with BlackBerry anyway. It started with Nokia phones, Nokia Symbian and Java. I think that's what it's called. We had Java phones that are Nokia and we had Symbian. Symbian operated more like BlackBerry. We could minimize an application. We had then phones like Nokia N series and various kind of series. And BlackBerry came and everybody was running mad about it. And before you know it, couldn't find BlackBerry again. What happened? First, the company known as Research in Motion, which made and marketed the Blackberries, missed the emerging smartphone evolution, though it was one of the pioneers of mobile computing. Secondly, the company was unable to read the market and hence it lost market share to Apple and Samsung. This resulted in the company early going bankrupt and what? And despite changes in leadership, it could never gain its position. Thirdly, it rejected a buyout offer and rescinded a sale option and instead chose to appoint a new CEO along with accepting fresh infusion of capital into the company. Let's now try to understand the changing strategies of BlackBerry through SWOT analysis, which would provide clue into how company would position itself in the future. Still on BlackBerry, a key point that is being made through the SWOT analysis is that BlackBerry needs to carry out thorough computer analysis to understand, to urgently revamp and rejuvenate if it has to regain market share and forget about the market leadership it has. It has to ensure that it stays afloat. So now, if BlackBerry should go on an Android phone, I think already because they made name for themselves, it's just to add on to feature. Many people will rush to it. I'm sure of that anyway. I'm sure of that. Many people will just rush to it because of they've gained the name in the past, and people will just imagine that if when we're in the dark, they were the only light we are seeing. Now that there's a light we are seeing, their light might be brighter. So what are their strengths? Perhaps the biggest strength of BlackBerry is that it enjoys top of the mind recalls as a good reputation. You see it? So among corporate users of mobile, because of its proprietary technology that scores it over competitors, scores over other competitors when corporate users are concerned. So the good name it has earned in the past will definitely speak for it. So it can be used any career anywhere in the world, and indeed it's a key strength for the company. So anywhere in the world you are, BlackBerry is a known brand and can function very, very well. There are so many other examples. The strength have made BlackBerry's smartphone of choice to many government agencies, an encrypted military grade security platform. making it the ideal phone of choice for agencies dealing with sensitive information because it's well protected. It's well protected and secure. The key weakness that BlackBerry has is that it went on a single track focused on corporate users and enhanced its security features as a UPS or unique selling proposition. You can see that's one of the weaknesses it has. While this aspect held it in good stead as far as the corporate clients are concerned, once Samsung and Apple came out with smartphones for the consumers and the everyday usage, BlackBerry was unable to keep up. Indeed, both Samsung and Apple have cornered the market share by enhancing security features in their smartphone, given that the small business owners using BlackBerry now had to install expensive enterprise software. They began to switch to rival instead of using BlackBerry. Okay, so we've taken few. When please, we should try and get this material. When you get this material, you have all these. You might not have the time to take you through all this because of the our class is regulated. The hour of our every of our lecture is regulated. The recent moves by the companies are very opportunities. The recent moves by the companies are very aggressive as it has rejected a sale offer and payout offer as well as accept fresh infusion of capital from an angel investor. By appointing a new CEO and revamping its organization team structure, BlackBerry has signaled that it is serious and is going out to reinvent itself. The company has a lucrative. I think we should just proceed. But let's take this straight. Though BlackBerry were the original smartphones, both Apple and Samsung beat it to the race to build, excuse me, the smartphone of the future because they provided the flexibility and ease of use that BlackBerry lacked, and hence we are able to corner market share and take away its competitor. So don't be surprised that in future we might begin to look for a product like Apple. We might begin to look for a product like Samsung. We might. If they don't keep up the trend with what is happening, you must be flexible. This same thing we can say of Nokia. Nokia was not flexible, they were rigid. Upon they are among the best phone one can talk of in Nigeria in those days, and even in the larger market Africa. Where is Nokia today? How many Android Nokia do we have? So we have to be flexible as consultants, we have to be flexible as entrepreneurs, we have to be flexible as business owners. Please get your material for your own need. Environmental scanning for computer analysis. Environmental scanning is an important element of computer analysis. Environmental scanning involves the internal and external analysis of environment. The organizational environment consists of both external and internal factors. Environment must be scanned so as to determine development and forecast of factors that will influence organizational success. So environmental analysis, there's the environmental scanning involves both internal and external analysis. Internal is the first step of environmental scanning. You have to look inward first, understand yourself before moving outward. Like in HR, when there is an open vacancy, we throw it open to the staff existing first within the company to see who can pick it up. Then when nobody's able to pick it up, we now begin to look elsewhere. Organizations should observe the internal organizational environment. These include employee interactions with employees, employee interaction with management, management interaction with other managers, the management interaction with shareholders, access to natural resources, brand awareness, organization structure, main staff, operational potentials, etc. All these are internal dynamics playing in analysis of your environment. Moreover, discussion, interviews, and so can also be used to assess internal environment. Analysis of internal environment helps in identifying strengths and weaknesses of organizations. A business becomes more competitive and there are rapid changes. As a business becomes more competitive and there are rapid changes in the external environment, information from the external environment add crucial elements to the effectiveness of long-term plans. As an environment is dynamic, it becomes essential for to identify competitors' moves and what action. Correlated external environments in competitor analysis. The analysis of organizations' external environment reveals opportunities and threats for an organization. We'll take that again, please. The analysis of competitors' external environment reveals opportunities and threats for the organization. So don't just take it for granted. When you study an external environment, you understand what step to make, what move to make. Some few days back, I was discussing with our CEO of where I work, and I was saying the need for immediate research, and infusion of new ways of way doing business. I work in the hospital. It is clear that most people have naturally now have phobia of going to the hospital because of coronavirus. So how do we attend to people of such category? Or are we just going to say, oh, after all, we're essential workers, people will always come to the hospital? No. Other companies, what are our competitors doing? Some other companies are now operating online. Some of their services are now online. Some other companies have abandoned a particular product because of the coronavirus. So how do we fit in? What are the opportunities in this period? What are the threats in this period? There are so many. Think in line with your business too. If you are doing a business like laundry, people now, the major competitor you have now is doing it yourself. People now do things, wash their clothes themselves. Go to the agricultural industry, animal farming, for instance. Go to the food industry. There are enormous opportunity there. Yet, threat abounds. Insecurity problem, logistics problem, and so on and so forth. Government policies that might be unfavorable, though. So strategic managers must not only recognize the present state of the environment and their industry, but also be able to predict its future positions. While in external analysis, three correlated environments should be studied and analyzed, which are the industry environment, national environment, and macro environment. Let's see if we can quickly brush through them because our time is far spent. Examine the industry. Environment needs an appraisal of the competitive structure of the organization industry, including the competitive position of a particular organization and its main rival. Also, an assessment of the nature, stage, dynamic, history of the industry is essential. It also implies evaluating the effect of globalization on competition within industry. We have the national environment, what is government policy, and we have the macro environment, which is even the larger world. We have things like analysis of macro environment include the social, government, legal, technological, international factors. For instance, globalization. Globalization is both has its positive and negative side. But look at the positive side, for instance. Look at the positive side of globalization and the influence it has on your business. Step 5, as you can see your screen, assess market attractiveness. Assess market attractiveness. A fifth step of competitor analysis involves assessing the attractiveness of a market. This is crucial because entering a particular market or market segment, an organization needs to assess its effectiveness. Michael Porter proposes a model which is known as Porter's 5 forces model to assess attractiveness of a market. As per Porter's 5 model, the attractiveness of a market or market segment is determined by the opportunities and threats posed by 5 key market elements: industry competitors, potential market entrants, availability of product substitute, buyers power, suppliers power. So um, let's look quickly at this. Okay. According to Michael Porter, okay, let's take Michael Porter first. Michael Porter was a Harvard Business School management researcher. He designed various vital frameworks for developing an organization strategy. One of the most renowned model of framework used by managers making strategic decision is the Porter's 5 forces model that determine industry structure. Just like we have David Ricardo who spoke about competitive advantage, cooperative advantage. So Michael Porter is also a renowned economist that you can talk about. You can try and check him up in the internet and his works and read more about it. According to Porter, the nature of competition in any industry depends on 5 forces. We have the rival among current competitors, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of what? Suppliers, threat of substitute product and services, threat of new potential entrants. At any point in time, anybody start doing a business that you are doing, your market share has been touched. And don't take it for granted. Change your system, change how you do things, become innovative, become critical in your thinking. That is one sure way you can what? you can stay afloat. Look at the bargaining power of buyers, bargaining powers of your suppliers. Are you able to bargain down to a very profitable manner for your organizations, for your organization? So it's very important we are able to bargain very, very well so that it will also help our production to be affordable. Porter's five forces model of competition. These five forces should be used as conceptual background for identifying an organization's competitive strengths and weaknesses and threats to the opportunities for the organization from which its competitive environment. Porter's five forces model are very significant from the point of view of strategy formulation. When you are able to understand this clearly, it will help you in policy um formulation. It will guide you very, very well. The potentials of these forces differs from industry to industries. These factors jointly determine the profitability of an industry because they shape the price. Excuse me. These forces jointly determine the profitability of an industry because they shape the prices which can be charged and the cost which can be borne and the investment required to compete. All right. So, all right. So let's proceed. So Porter's five forces model of competition. We are still talking about it. So five forces model also helps in competitor analysis for making strategic decisions as it is used by managers to determine industry's competitive structure. We look at them again. They are threat to substitute products or services, bargaining power of supplier, bargaining power of buyer, rival among current competitor, and risk of entry by um, potential competitor. So risk of entry by potential competitors. Rival competitors mean the firms which are not currently competing in the industry but have potential to do so if given a choice. Entry of new players increases the industry capacity, begins a competition of market shares and lowers the current costs. The threat of entry by potential competitors is potentially a function of barrier to entry. Various barriers to entry are economic of scales, brand loyalty, government regulation, customer switching cost, absolute cost advantage, ease in distribution, strong capital base. All these are barriers that one should consider before entering into a market. The next, rival among competitors. Refers to the competitive struggle for market share between firms in an industry. Extreme rivalry among established firms poses a strong threat to profitability. This is because clients are being shared, profits are being shared among the organizations. This the strength of rival among established firms within an industry is a function of the following: extent of exit barrier, amount of fixed costs, competitive structure of industry, presence of global customers, absence of switching costs, growth rate of industry, demand conditions, bargaining power of buyers. Buyers mean the customers who finally consume the product or the services, or the firms who distribute the industry's products to the final consumers. Bargaining power of buyers refers to the potential of the buyer to bargain on the price charged by the firms, or increase the firm's costs by demanding better quality. Strong buyers can reduce the profit of an industry by lowering their price and increasing the cost, and they are regarded as a threat because they purchase in large quantity. Alright. They have full information about the product and the market. They emphasize upon quality products. They pose credible threats or backward integration. Bargaining power of suppliers. This is just the opposite of the other. Suppliers refers to the firms that provide inputs to the industry. Bargaining power of the supplier refers to the potential of the supplier to increase price of input or cost of industry, in other words. So this behavior is very common, and this is one place most companies take leverage on. They tend to get um, their raw material as very cheap as possible in order to maximize cost. A strong supplier can reduce profits of an industry by increasing cost of firm in the industry. They are regarded as threat because supplier products have a few substitutes. Strong suppliers products are unique. They have high switching costs. Their product is an important is an their product is an input important input to the buyer's product. They pose credible threats of forward integration. Buyers are not significant to suppliers, uh, to strong suppliers. So if you can see your screen, we are talking about threats of substitute products and services. The lesser number of close substitute a product has, greater is the opportunity for the firm in the industry to rise the price of their product and earn greater profits. That is if every other thing is equal. The law or proposition of Porter is not without any limitation. There are certain queries that I've given to it, and this include: one, Porter in his five forces model has ignored the six significant factor complement. This term refers to the dependency that develops between companies whose product works in combination with others. Strong complement products might have a strong positive effect on a particular industry, which is true, of course. Which is true, of course. um, those using cooking gas, for instance, and those who sell those who sell cylinder and those who use cooking gas are complements. You can't buy cooking gas without buying a cylinder. You can't buy cylinder without filling it up with cooking gas. So there's usually somewhat a ripple effect on them. This is also very common in a situation where um, if there is an increase in pump price of petrol, it also affects other factors. You can see in his theory, this is not typical the example is given here, but you see also in his theory, he didn't address that. The five model also overlook the role of innovation as well as the significance of individual firm differences. It presents a stagnant view of competition. So let's, because of time, we'll just proceed. When you get the material, please kindly go through this real life example. It's talking about Veggie Atlanta. Virgin Atlanta is something you want to read and understand. So the sixth one we're talking about, analyze sources of competitive advantage. Remember that this theory of competitive advantage or comparative theory was proposed by an economist called David Ricardo. So David Ricardo proposes this theory. Therefore, it is crucial that during competitors analysis that an organization should incorporate knowledge about the competitors' advantage. What is their strengths over you? What strengths do your competitor have that you don't have? This will help you redefine your strategy. This will help you plan better. This will help you redefine your market audience. This knowledge will help play a role in helping the organization get key understanding of its competitor's strengths, weakness, and likely moves in marketplaces. The following are some of the key sources of competitive advantage for various competitors across several industries. Number one is input. When you talk about input, it's a very important factor when you talk of the sources of competitive advantage. Inputs are important because very few business are completely vertically integrated. One of our courses we've thought about is, please, when you hear all these terms, don't take it for granted. There is vertical integration and there is horizontal integration. And in fact, recently there are some scholars that have brought out other forms. Please do well to read. Don't just take it on the face value and go. This course, yes, is giving you in-depth knowledge, but you can read more and more and see how you can apply this. After reading and you don't have a better understanding of it, please do well to reach back to IIPM, who will for connect yourself and the facilitator for better explanation of what you've read. All right, thank you so much. So instead, they simply add value to the purchase input through its operation. Hence, it is crucial to analyze a competitor cost of its raw material. The following are elements to be assessed and analyzed regarding the input of a firm. So you can see on your screen what we have there. Another key source of competitive to analyze competitive advantage is technology. What kind of technology is existing? What kind of technology is existing? What do your competitors embrace technology? Are you also willing to embrace technology? To what extent are you going to embrace technology? Discussing with an employer, with one of a well-known employer in Abuja, and he was telling me that in the next 1 year, a particular most of what he does, he embraced technology a lot, IT, everything. But there's an aspect he's going even in that IT, and he said that is 1 year, is 12 months plan. So by um, January next year, he should have accomplished that. You see, so and I asked him why, sir. He said because technology is key. Technology is key in doing business these days. It's key, especially with the new normal now that we have on coronavirus. So companies must embrace technology. The following are some of the ways in which organization can access competitors' technology. Access a competitor's current operation and products technology. Assess the direction of a competitor's technology investment. Assess a competitor's announcement about present and future state of their technology. Assess and follow a competitor's published patents. Assess and follow a competitor's scientific publication. Assess and estimate the competitor's number of research and development personnel. Today, the world of globalization and digitalization made all this very easy that at the comfort of your bed and chair, you can get all this information. And that source of competitive advantage is operations. You can understand several aspects of competitors' operations by simply buying its product and observing or reverse engineering them. I I I I remember a cousin of mine. Anything we buy, he will dismantle and recouple them. Anything we buy, we will dismantle and couple them. He's very crafty in what he does and very skillful. So you can apply this technique. Try to understand how they operate by reversing their procedure and their processes, how it works. The next is product. Product plays a key role and are the main focus of marketplace strategy. There, there are many ways in which you can assess the competitive advantage of competitors' product. Of course, for assessing your competitors' product, products, the most important thing you should keep in mind is to look at its products from their customers' point of view and how their customers see them. For this purpose, you can use customer survey as a useful tool in this analysis. You should analyze the product with respect to its technical performance feature, as well as understand the source of customer value. And so the last one is access segment and customers. You can you can gain a key understanding of a competitor's sources of advantage by assessing and analyzing the number, types, quality of channel numbers and its coverage in different channels of distribution. All right, so we are almost running up. I believe so far we are doing justice to this course. Please, just for a reminder's sake, get your training manuals, contact IPM for any inquiry you need to make. What is competitive advantage? You should understand that conducting a competitor analysis is all about gaining and maintaining competitive advantage. The term competitive advantage can be defined as anything that a firm does especially well when it compared to its rival. Yes, competitive advantage lays emphasis on the comparison with rival. As rivalry firm, as competitive advantage is all about how best to beat your rival and stay in a competitive market. Let me now emphasize. You can, what are the, just pick one or two products and services. The problem that most SMEs make is that they want to sell everything. They want to render all services. You can't render all services, please. Look at where you have strength. Look at where you have high turnaround time. For instance, look at where you have the resources. It might simply be in manpower. It might simply be in cash. It might be in strategy. It might be in quick solution. I was consulting for an organization, and part of the things I saw is their problem is very simple. The problem is they want to render all services. By so doing, there was a low turnaround time and high waiting time. It was very simple. By the time we solved and narrow their services, streamline it, and developed a protocol for them, their turnaround time increased while their waiting time reduced. So you can't serve everybody. Just you can't serve everybody. You can't render all services. So competitive advantage accrues to a firm when it does something that rival cannot do or owns something that the rival firm desire. It is born out of statistics that firm loses their sources of competitive advantage over the longer term. Why is it so? Because we become comfortable, we don't check our processes any longer, we don't check what we do any longer. Let us try to check our processes. Let us try to check what we do. Let us try to check our results as against what we proposed. What is sustained competitive advantage? There may be various sources or factors that may serve as means of providing competitive advantage to an organization. Also, these sources or factors may differ from one organization to another. However, an organization can have a source of competitive advantage for only a certain period with because the rival organization may imitate and copy the successful organization strategy, leading to the original organization losing its source of competitive advantage over the long term. Of course, we can think of so many examples in line with this. Hence, it is imperative for the organization to keep the organization to develop and nurture sustained competitive advantage. How do we develop sustained competitive advantage? Continually adapting to external change to changing external business environment. Look at globalization, like BlackBerry that we talk about and Nokia. Where are those two gadgets today? They are maybe at the peak of the ladder when it comes to their industry and their products. The next is matching internal strengths and capabilities by channeling resources and and competencies in fluid manner. By formulating, implementing, and evaluating strategies in an effective manner. All right. We have the next, which is how to develop sustained competitive advantage. It is crucial for organizations to develop. Okay, yeah, we've just treated this. So design competitive advantage strategy. So we for this stage we implore that you get the material and read. We have effective competitors analysis. The following are the considerations to be kept in mind for conducting an effective competitor analysis. Stay focused, searching extensively for competitors, collaborating with other functional areas, examining issues from customers' perspective, separate internal issues from external issues. For want of time, we will quickly go to our last our last objective. All right. Thank you so much for staying with us so far. We are almost rounding up. We've overshot our time. So, explain the blind spots in competitors' analysis. I think the first time I heard about blind spots was when I was doing a course on security. Then I got to hear about it again when I was I was doing a course with the road safety on driving. There is what we call blind spot and black spot. In driving and in security, black spots are those danger prone areas. In security, maybe areas where their crime are prone. It's a well-known place. So in driving as well, black spots are places that when you are driving, then maybe they say that place you meet armed robbers and so. While blind spots in driving are places where you can't see. This is especially when you are reversing. Even when you are driving, there are some places that are blind spots. When you are driving forward, there are places that are blind spots. The same thing security places that the camera maybe cannot pick or security man's eye cannot reach. Those are blind spots. So what is now blind spots in competitive analysis? Generally, the information about competitors is limited by the assumption that managers their have with respect to industry. These assumptions may lead to blind spots in your competitors' analysis, which lead to an analysis conducted out of ignorance, prejudice, and poor judgment. When you lack necessary information, there's some key information that you need to have, but you didn't see it, you didn't come across it. Hence, you're only making your judgment based on the little you've seen. So, hence, this blind spot causes strategy to fail to recognize the importance of events and understand them appropriately. Blind spots in competitors analysis. The following are 6 main blind spots that strategists face in competitor analysis. Please focus on this. Let's so we'll be together. Mistaking industry boundaries. No, this is where it is stopped. This is where they won't have gotten there. No. Don't rule out all odds. Don't rule out all odds. Open your mind to possibilities when dealing with what? Your competitors. Open your mind to possibilities. Poor recognition of competitors. There are people who take for granted. Even that man selling, if you want to open a maybe chicken suya, yahuza suya, whatever it is, don't take that man by the roadside for granted. Don't. If you are opening a wine bar, don't even take that woman selling beer and pepper soup for granted. But people, no, that one, it's not my computer, it's not my computer. Whereas person is stealing from your customers heavily, unknown to you. Emphasis only on computers' visible competencies. Oh, because they have car, delivery car, and I believe that is their strength. No, there are a lot of places that you can't see except you're even working there. So you assume all those factors, stressing upon where and not how to compete. Strong presumption about competitors. Overload of information. Mistaking industry boundaries. One of the greatest blind spots that strategists face in computer analysis is that they wrongly define the branch of companies. So, Most of the times, organizations define their industry boundaries around the current product, customer groups, and geographies. This causes them to overlook the adjacent competitors who ultimately enter their current space. So we've talked about poor. Um, let's look at stressing upon where and where not to compete. Stressing upon where now, most of the time, strategies such as conducting competitor analysis focus only on areas on which the organization should compete rather than how to compete. In such cases, strategies often presume that competitor strategy will shift only incrementally in how they could compete. They fail to recognize that the radical reposition of competitors they fail to recognize the radical reposition of competitors' strategy. There are other wrong presumptions that people make about their competitors. And now the last one, this is overload of information. Competitor analysis greatly suffers due to fixation that strategies have with the task of data collection, especially in a country where there is no centralized data like most third world countries. You have to go through manual and primary data. So this causes an information overload, which makes the analysis suffer and leads to damage to the analysis and strategic insights. All right, all right, all right. This is where we draw the curtain. Take your time to read through all these that have been said. Competitor analysis, the step that is needed to conduct of carrying out competitor analysis. Um, have the acronym of SWOT on your fingertips. Understand Porter's law. Understand competitive advantage and keywords. When you do this, I bet you are not far away from success. Thank you once more for joining me in this class. I am your own very own facilitator, SME doctor, in the person of Okafor Ikenna Michael, aka Oga HR. Do well to follow IIPM on social media. On all social media, we are very present there. Also, like us on click on us on YouTube so I can always get any video we upload. Same applies to Facebook. Thank you. Have a wonderful time. We meet next time. All right.